It comes as a new Angus Reid poll shows that 30% of Albertans want to leave the country if the Liberals form government.
There's lots of people that took what I was saying and then put a caption underneath, 51st state, But, when I talk about Alberta statehood, I'm talking about Alberta independence. No more federal income tax, no more GST, no more carbon tax, no more excise tax, no more capital gains tax.
37% of Albertans now support independence from Canada, a number that could explode past 50% if Mark Carney remains Prime Minister. These aren't just random statistics. They're the voice of a province that's been financially exploited for decades while being politically sidelined. For years, Alberta has pumped billions into Ottawa through equalization payments, only to be rewarded with policies that strangle its energy sector and ignore its constitutional rights. Is this the final breaking point? What happens next could literally redraw the map of North America? We're witnessing what could be the beginning of the end for Canada as we know it. While the mainstream media continues to downplay the situation, Alberta's independence movement is gaining unprecedented momentum.
Buildings or C-69 or tanker bans, that is a record they can't run away from. I've seen nothing to indicate that they're going to change course on that. In fact, the new Prime Minister has written his book on values, that we have somebody at the table for 4 years who can negotiate a renewed Canada-US free trade agreement, so that we can end this back and forth on a tariff war, which is benefiting no one. Well, I think MLA Sinclair didn't have full information. As you can see, what we do is we do blanket announcements for a high-level budget, and then we do the granular announcements.
This isn't just another case of Western grumbling. It's a legitimate constitutional crisis brewing right before our eyes. For decades, Alberta has functioned as Ottawa's personal ATM machine. The resource-rich province has sent billions of dollars eastward through equalization payments, only to receive contempt and policies designed to cripple its economic engine in return. This financial bleeding has created a deep-seated resentment that's finally boiling over, with Albertans increasingly questioning what benefit they get from remaining in a federation that treats them with such disdain. Then came the final straw that broke Alberta's patience: Mark Carney stepping into the Prime Minister's office. An unelected globalist banker taking control of the country without winning a single vote has sent shockwaves through Alberta. Carney represents everything Albertans have grown to resent about federal politics: an Eastern elite making decisions for the West without understanding or caring about Western priorities.
In Lesser Slave Lake, there's $134 million of a total $239 million towards the road project that he identified in his post. That's Highway 88, which is absolutely a priority. But we know that there's need all over the province, and so we've got to make sure that we balance that. I wish we could build every school that was needed everywhere all at once, and every road that was needed everywhere all out. And in fact, in the transportation budget, the largest share of it is going to Northern Alberta. We've got some big projects up there to make sure that we can start building a pathway to get between Grand Prairie and Fort McMurray, as well as a second road.
This isn't just a political disagreement, it's being viewed as an attack on democratic principles themselves. The numbers tell a shocking story that the corporate media wants to hide from you. Recent polling reveals that 37% of Albertans now support independence, a figure that was unimaginable just a few years ago. Political analysts suggest this number could explode past 50% if Carney maintains his position and continues implementing policies that harm Alberta's interests. This isn't fringe thinking anymore, it's becoming mainstream sentiment across the province. What's truly remarkable is how organized the independence movement has become. The Alberta Prosperity Project has transformed from a small group of concerned citizens into a powerful political force, amassing over 66,000 members actively working at the grassroots level. These aren't just passive supporters, they're volunteers and organizers gathering signatures and mobilizing communities toward a referendum on Alberta's future. This shift from political talk to concrete action signals that separation discussions have moved beyond hypothetical scenarios. Premier Danielle Smith has raised the stakes dramatically.
I would say that everyone just needs to be patient as we roll things out, and we have every interest in making sure that we prioritize the needs that are put forward by our MLAs. The ask is for a high an acetaminophen that could be used as a replacement, high dosage acetaminophen that could be used as a replacement for opioids. We've assembled the paperwork, and as I understand it, the health minister is working on getting that available to the media as soon as she can.
Thank you, Len.
By issuing an ultimatum to Ottawa that leaves little room for compromise, her demands aren't minor policy adjustments. They strike at the heart of Alberta's relationship with the federal government. Smith is fighting for control over Alberta's natural resources, provincial autonomy over immigration policies, and the elimination of federal carbon taxes that disproportionately harm Alberta's economy. Her message couldn't be clearer. Either Ottawa respects Alberta's constitutional rights and economic independence, or the province will seriously consider full separation. The financial injustice of the current arrangement can't be overstated. Alberta contributes billions more to federal coffers than it receives in return through equalization. This creates the perverse situation where Albertans are literally funding the very policies designed to destroy their economy and way of life. Each time Ottawa imposes new environmental regulations targeting Alberta's energy sector, it's using Alberta's own money to do so. The financial arrangement has become so one-sided that many Albertans now view it as exploitation rather than partnership. Federal overreach has gone far beyond just economic policies. During COVID, Ottawa imposed mandates that many Albertans strongly opposed. The federal government's gun restrictions targeted rural Albertans' way of life, and energy production caps were implemented against Alberta's explicit wishes.
Buildings or C-69 or tanker bans, that is a record they can't run away from. I've seen nothing to indicate that they're going to change course on that. In fact, the new Prime Minister has written his book on values. And in fact, in the transportation budget, the largest share of it is going to Northern Alberta. We've got some big projects up there to make sure that we can start building a pathway to get between Grand Prairie and Fort McMurray, as well as a second road. We've assembled the paperwork, and as I understand it, the health minister is working on getting that available to the media as soon as she can.
Thank you, Len.
This pattern of imposing unpopular policies has convinced many Albertans that Ottawa simply doesn't care about Western voices or values. The appointment of Carney has only heightened these tensions. Albertans pride themselves on democratic values and accountability, two principles they see completely violated by Carney's installation as Prime Minister. Here's an unelected banker with deep ties to global financial institutions who hasn't won a seat in Parliament, making decisions that will shape Alberta's future. For a province already suspicious of Eastern elites, Carney represents their worst fears come to life. Political analysts warn that if the Liberals win the next federal election, support for Alberta independence could surge dramatically. Each Liberal victory reinforces the belief that Alberta's concerns will never be adequately addressed within the current system. Such an outcome would likely set the stage for a constitutional crisis unlike anything Canada has experienced since Quebec's sovereignty movement reached its peak. As we stand at this historic crossroads, the very fabric of our confederation hangs in the balance. The next few months will ultimately determine whether Canada remains whole or if we witness the birth of a new nation on North American soil. This isn't simply about political disagreements anymore. It's about Albertans fighting for their fundamental right to self-determination after enduring decades of economic exploitation and cultural dismissal. A referendum on separation now seems inevitable if Ottawa continues down this dangerous path. What's unfolding in Alberta should send shivers through the federal government's spine. Ignore your citizens' legitimate concerns at your own peril, Ottawa. The consequences could reshape Canadian history forever.